Alright, so I'm going to give a graphical representation of Rn and Ln. Okay? Alright, so actually what I'm going to do is R4 and L4. Okay, so the idea is we want to approximate the area between f of x and the x-axis from 1 to 2. Okay, now because not this part over here we're not concerning ourselves with, I'll just erase this, okay? Alright, so we're really only concerning ourselves with this little bit right here. We need to take that off, okay. So first let's look at R4. Okay, to compute R4, we need to first figure out what our delta x is. So delta x is our rightmost endpoint, 2 minus our leftmost endpoint, 1, all over that 4 there. That gives us 2 minus 1, 1/4. What this does is it allows us to cut this interval, the interval 1, 2, the interval 1, 2 there, into 4 equal pieces of equal size, of equal length. Okay, so thinking of 1 as 4/4, 4/4 plus a fourth, so this is 1 1/4 or 5/4. 5/4 plus a fourth is 6/4. So let's see, that's 1, 1 1/4, 1 2/4, otherwise known as 1 1/2. 6/4, we got 7/4. That's 1 3/4, and 2, which is 8/4. And notice how that happened. We started at 4/4. 4 plus 1 is 5, plus 1, plus 1, plus 1. Okay. Now, R4, what we're doing is we're looking at the rectangles. We're going to look at use rectangles whose height of those rectangles is determined by f of the rightmost endpoint. Okay, so let me draw this first one here. Okay, let me do this in red. Okay. So, considering just this interval here, just this little interval right here, from 1 to 5/4, and you can think of these as subintervals. We have the large interval, 1 to 2, and we have subintervals. We have from 4/4 to 5/4, from 5/4 to 6/4, from 6/4 to 7/4, from 7/4 to 8/4. Okay. These are the widths of our rectangles. Alright, so the height of our rectangle is f applied to the rightmost endpoint. So how far do you go up at 5/4? You go f of 5/4. That puts us there. So there's our first rectangle. All right, for our second rectangle, we just look at the height again as the f of 6/4. Again, the next rectangle, we have our width, and our height is f of 7/4. How far do you go up? You go up f of 7/4. However far f tells you to go. Let's see. Okay. And now for our last rectangle, notice that 4, and we have 4 rectangles. how far do we go up? We go up f of 2 distance. That puts us there. Okay. And so R4 is adding up all these guys, adding up the areas of all these rectangles. And we all know the area of a rectangle is length times width. So let's call this area 1, area 2, area 3, and area 4. So R4 is area 1 plus area 2 plus area 3 plus area 4. Now area 1 is this distance, which is a quarter, times f of the rightmost endpoint. Added to area 2, again a fourth, times f of the rightmost endpoint. This is just length times width. We got the length, which is a fourth. The width is how far that guy goes up. Again, so let's keep adding. We add again, we got a fourth times f of 7/4. And now f of 2. Okay, now remembering that delta x was a quarter, or actually before we do that, notice that a quarter is in all of these, so we could factor out that quarter. Now we have f of 5/4 plus f of 6/4 plus f of 7/4, ending at f of 8/4, which is 2. And that's where they get this funny definition in there. Let's see, where they say, okay, remember this was my delta x. When they say a, my a was the 1 here, so it's your starting point. You have f of a. And then notice that 6/4, okay, so, sorry, I apologize, not quite. My a was 1 there. And I went to 5/4. Notice that 5/4 is 1/4 plus 4/4, otherwise known as 4/4 plus 1/4. So this is f of 4/4, otherwise known as 1 plus 1/4 plus f of 1 plus 2/4 plus f of 1 plus 3/4 plus f of 1 plus 4/4. Now remembering that 1 is a and 1/4 is delta x, oops. Let's replace all the 1's with an a. One-fourth is our delta x. 2/4 is 2 times a fourth. So that's 2 times delta x. Plus 3 delta x plus 4 delta x. That's where our definition comes from. It's really just adding a1 plus a2 plus a3 plus a4. Now, what about L4? Oops. L4, we're still going to add up these areas, but now the height of our rectangles is f of the leftmost endpoint. So now the height of our this the height of our rectangle here, we use f of 1, which is this guy. So now our rectangle looks like that. Here we use the leftmost endpoint again, so it looks something like that. Let's see, the leftmost f of that gives me there, and f of that guy gives me that there. And so L4 again, 1/4 times f of the leftmost endpoint. So here we have f of 1 plus f of 5/4 plus f of 6/4 plus f of 7/4.